president of Sea Glass Theater Company. I'm thrilled to introduce you to another in our Spotlight series. This time, we're highlighting performers in our new world debut program, Wailing Women. Today's Spotlight features Melynda Davis, soprano and performer extraordinaire. We hope you enjoy it. Thank you for joining us at Sea Glass to do this program. It's pretty exciting.
I'm very excited to make my debut with Sea Glass.
Wonderful. It's wonderful. So why don't we talk a little bit about you as a performer and how you found your instrument when you found it and how that all came about.
Sure. So as most elementary school kids, I think, did when they were little, I sang in the chorus. That was music class for us. I grew up in Westboro, and they had a great music program, from what I thought. So I started playing the flute when I was little and started singing in theater in middle school and things like that. And I remember thinking, well, this is great. This is fun. This is a lot of fun, and I'm good at it. Look at that. So that was kind of the start of my I call it my music bug. Is really elementary school, where I got involved in as many things as I possibly could. It was never a question of if I was going to play an instrument. It was, Dad, which one should I do? And he went right along with it because I think he could see my passion as a small child.
Was he musical too? Do you have music in the family?
No, I was told that I have some great grandmother somewhere down the line who was an opera singer, but no one seems to know who that is. So it would be really interesting to go back in my, ancestry and figure out who that was, because no one else, none of my cousins, no one sings or really is musically inclined. My aunt likes to sing, but no one ever did it kind of as a profession or even really a hobby. Not so much. I was kind of the odd one out in my family.
Well, we'll have to get Dr. Gates involved and do a little finding your roots.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, we're into the ancestry thing in our family. So it's fun to once you start digging what you find, and it should be a good chord for you to find.
Right. Someone back there had to have it.
Yeah, exactly. did you train for your musical career? What's your learning bio?
So I went to UMass Dartmouth. I thought I wanted to be a music teacher. I was even the president of the Massachusetts Educators National Conference. I was involved, went to conferences around the state, and then got to my student teaching and realized this is not where I want to be for the rest of my life in this classroom. It wasn't a negative experience. I just realized that, that this was firsthand what I would be doing every day, and realized that's not what I want to do. So then I decided to go back to school to get my master's in opera, and I did that at the Laundry School of Music in Cambridge, which is now part of Bard College, I think. Kind of relationship they have there now, which was great. I got a lot more experience in opera that I did not get as an undergrad, since we were, mainly we were a pretty small school, so to put on a full-scale opera was difficult. We did do a few. We did Dido and Aeneas, which was my first official opera, but there was such a small voice department that it would have really been difficult to do. So I enjoyed my time at Laundry and the opportunity I had to do full operas with lots of people, because it was open to the voice department too.
Wonderful. So was your focus performing while you were in New York and New Jersey?
Definitely. I've continued working my regular day job. I do property management and the day job for college campuses, but that's what helped me get to New York. But then while I was there, definitely focusing on, continuing studying with my teacher, as many opportunities as I could. It was a little overwhelming when I first got there. It's kind of the, I guess, Olympics of singing, if you will. That's how I experienced it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, this is where everyone is. So once I got through that, then I said, okay, I get it now. Took a few months, but yeah, there's a lot going on there.
Were you singing in mainly in opera, or were you doing different kind of programs as well?
Mainly opera, but pretty much whatever I could get involved in. One of my first loves is actually musical theater, and my mom to this day is convinced that that's where my road should have led me. I'm always sneaking away to New York, and my first thing to do when I get to New York is to see a Broadway show. So that's I've done some musical reviews, and I always try to sneak in some theater, and whenever I do a recital or a concert, because that's the fun side of singing for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
They say everyone should have their heart broken at least once, for that is how you grow emotionally. Well, I have been misused by many, many, many men, and nothing can compare with how you treated me. At times it really felt as though the pain was here to stay, and though it's several years ago, I feel it to this day. And now you wanna be my friend on Facebook. Are you fucking kidding me? All the memories are flooding back to me now. All the ways you stole the light from my eyes. I traveled so far just to get away from you, till this morning's friend request surprise. and I certainly don't want you again. And so you wanna be my friend on Facebook? Oh, you fucking fuck. Click ignore.
Well, speaking of music, what kind of music do you listen to when you're just hanging around or on a drive or whatever? What's your fun music?
So probably my favorite, just kind of pop music. I love Kelly Clarkson. She's one of my favorites. I just think she's a really cool person, and we would be good friends if I ever met her. That's my feeling anyway. She may think differently. I've seen a few of her concerts. I've gone to a few of her concerts. I love Audra McDonald's, but she's kind of still classical. She's probably my favorite Broadway performer. And then Erin Tveit is another love. When I saw the Broadway show Next to Normal the first summer I moved to New York, completely fell in love with his voice and his talent. And now he's on TV and in movies, and he's blown up. So he's another really great, talented person.
Awesome.
So, a mix.
That's neat. So your side hustle is actually, when we talk side hustle in these questions, it's like separate from your music. So your side hustle is property management.
Yeah.
That's very cool. What does that involve?
So a lot. So I was a resident assistant when I was in college, and I kind of continued it with my singing. It's been really flexible, so I can, I'll be on call occasionally for kind of facilities related things at night. And that, for me, that involves calling a maintenance person to come in and fix something, but working during the day. But also I have a team that's in the office, so it's flexible enough where if I need to leave for a rehearsal, I can do that. If I need to leave early for a performance, I can do that, and still can kind of work around the performance schedule and get my work done in the office. So, and I've always loved working with college students. I think that watching them grow as a student from their first year at, the age of 18 until they graduate 4 or 5, however many years later, has always been really special. So the fact that I can continue to do both has been really cool.
That's the teaching part. That's the heart for the student that you had when you first were starting college, isn't it? That's neat.
I love that. And what I learned is that I prefer the one-on-one. I could not get those relationships in that classroom, student teaching. There were classes coming in and out every 40, 50 minutes. And I had so many kids in a day that I wasn't able to really get to know them. And I think that was the part that I didn't like.
Yeah. Well, you did a nice blend.
Yeah.
You did a really nice blend. What is the weirdest gig you've ever had?
The weirdest, the one that comes to mind is the most awkward. It was actually in grad school, and it was a new work that had been written, and there were only 4 of us, and my character had to basically, every movement I made on stage had to be very much in a jerk-like way, and I had to be very zombie-like. My makeup was zombie-like. I had to wear a blonde wig, army pants. I don't even remember what I was singing, other than it was very peculiar. I did not find it very musical. It was interesting, and to this day, that sticks out as the most bizarre performance I've ever done.
Yeah. So flip side, what's your absolute favorite role you've done so far?
Oh, by far, it is Desdemona in Othello. That and that was years ago. It was right before I moved to New York, and that was where I found my true love of Verdi and the full orchestra. Being able to sing on that stage, and even when Desdemona sings, it's always the lighter music. Verdi's a master in knowing how to accompany his characters, but having that full orchestra sound, we had about 80 instruments in the orchestra, which for community opera was amazing. All really good musicians, having that choir, all of the characters, that sound on stage supporting you, because I really feel like it's, some people think, how do you cut through? How do you get all that sound? Well, I'm not competing with anyone. We're one. We're one sound together coming out to the audience. And still to this day, when I think of it, I think of how amazing and wonderful I felt singing that role. And I haven't done it again. I need to do it again.
You lit up when you talked about that. It's like it lifted you, so you need to do it again.
Yes, I do, for sure. I definitely do. And it fit my voice like a glove. I remember being concerned that it might have been a little heavy for me at the time, but no, I was like trying on a old pair of sweatpants that just just fits perfectly.
Let's talk a little bit about Amelia Piper. Amelia Piper is your character in Wailing Women.
Yes.
And I'm very interested to share with the people who are going to be watching the spotlight a little bit about what you pulled from Amelia, what surprised you about her. Just talk to us about her.
Yeah. She seems like a pretty, or she was a very strong woman, which in that time period, the early 1800s, to me is like, wow, for her to come through as strong of a woman as she was back then, considering the oppression she had to face, is miraculous. Um, so she and her husband kind of fled from Virginia around 1830 and um, made their way up to New Bedford, which was an area where a lot of slaves had found themselves after fleeing from slavery, and they helped a ton of people in their path through the Underground Railroad and made their way to New Bedford and helped them get settled. That's the other thing, not just to get there, but to help them, with money and finding places to live and all of that. In the area, she the New Bedford Female Union Society. She was a manager of that, and the funds from that ensured that the fugitive slaves were not returned to slavery, which is another thing. People think, oh, yay, they're free, they made it. No, they could still be captured and taken back. So the fact that she helped with other women provide money for them to not be, captured again, and the money came from things that they baked or hand made items that the women created themselves. Yeah, pretty special, I think, pretty special woman. And I had never actually heard of her until this opera, which I think is unfortunate. And I feel like there are a lot of women in history, probably the other five characters as well, who had significant parts in history as women who often were overlooked because there were other male characters maybe doing equally as heroic things that just overshadowed them. So I'm excited that we'll get to hear her story and the other five women's story from their perspective on what they did in their time, and get to celebrate it.
It's a rather brilliant idea. It's a brilliant concept, I think, for a program, and to premiere it in New Bedford, where it all took place,
Right.
is another thrill. It's another thrill. So it's good. It's going to be a lot of fun to see it all actually happen.
Exactly. And I looked up her address. I found her address. It's a different street name now, but I might have to drive by after one of the rehearsals and just kind of see the part of the town that she lived in. I think that would be great.
Wouldn't it be fun if it was near where we're going to be?
I know that would be fun. I should check on a map and see, because that's great. I mean, going to UMass Dartmouth, I was in New Bedford all the time. I lived in New Bedford right after I graduated, so it's like coming home to my roots for this performance too.
Oh, I love it. I love it. have a dream venue that you'd like to perform in someday? Do you, other than, the opera we just talked about, your other Verdi, is there any other program you've never done before that you'd love to do in a certain venue?
Well, the next on my list, I want to do Tosca because I love the music. And then in terms of a venue, I don't know. I mean, the most obvious to me would be the Metropolitan Opera, but I feel like there's too much pressure for that. I wouldn't be able to enjoy the performance, even if someone said, tomorrow, I want you to sing at the Met. I would be so anxious and nervous. I don't know that I would get to enjoy it like I did Othello. So I'm not sure. I think anywhere where the hall is as beautiful as the music that's being performed, because to me it's an entire experience. So I think, yeah, I think that would be it for me, and where those who appreciate it most are part of the audience. Cheesy
Great,
answer, but
great answer. Not cheesy at all.
I'm all about the whole experience. I think it's important. I don't want to see people nodding off in the front row. I want people who truly enjoy the music and are there to experience the entire thing, from the moment the orchestra starts tuning to the final curtain call. It's a full experience. And I think COVID has kind of given me new perspective on that. It's not just a gig, it's not just a performance, but we are truly bringing happiness and joy to people's lives. And I think that that's been missed for the past year and however many months it's been.
Were you able to do any performing during COVID? Were you able to do virtual programs?
Yes. I'm on the board for Opera on Tap, and we started doing operagrams, which were done through telephone, through Zoom, phone call, not phone calls, FaceTime. We started with Mother's Day, we did Father's Day, and then now people can order them for anything. So that kind of opened our world to, we're in Boston, but we could sing for people in California and wish them a happy birthday by singing, part of an aria. And people were really appreciative of that. And I think that helped brighten people's days. And concerts we were able to record and do through Zoom too.
I love the Opera on Tap. That's phenomenal. Great idea.
Yeah, we had to be innovative. Otherwise, I mean, our performance structure is to sing in places that aren't really exposed to opera, like bars. The Burn, that's one of our venues in Somerville. There's a little place in the back where there's brunch, and then we usually put on a show while people eat brunch. Well, that can't really happen during COVID, so we had to rethink everything.
Well, congratulations for what you got done.
Thank you. We're pretty excited, and we'll be continuing a lot of it too. So that's great.
Will Wailing Women be your first with an audience performance since COVID, or have you done anything else?
No, that will be it. Yeah, I've been singing at church, but that's not a performance. So this will be, yes, very much so.
Yay.